So on October 1st, open enrollment begins. All these folks can start signing up for the marketplace. And what we want to make sure of is that everybody, in every category, in every age group, understands why health insurance is important, understands why they should sign up. Understands the choices that are going to be available to them. They're going to be able to go to a computer, tap on the web page, and they're going to be able to shop just like you shopped for an airline ticket or a flat screen TV, and see what's the best price for you. What's the plan that's best suited for you, and go ahead and sign up right there and then. And that the open enrollment period will last from October 1st until the end of March, and so there will be 6 months for folks to sign up. Normally, this would be pretty straightforward. A lot of people don't have health insurance. A lot of people realize they should get health insurance. But let's face it, it's been a little political, this whole Obamacare thing. And the main message we have, and we're using social media, we're talking to churches. We're talking to various civic groups, and what we're saying to people is, look, just go to the website yourself. Go to healthcare.gov, take a look at whether this is a good deal or not, and make your own decision about whether this is good for you. Because what we are confident about is that when people look and see that they can get high quality, affordable health care for less than their cell phone bill, they're going to sign up. They are going to sign up. And part of what I think the resistance that we've seen ramp up particularly over the last couple of months is all about is the opponents of healthcare reform know they're going to sign up. In fact, one of the major opponents, when asked, well, why is it that you'd potentially shut down the government at this point just to block Obamacare, he basically fessed up. He said, well, once consumers get hooked on having health insurance and subsidies, then they won't want to give it up. So it is very important that people just know what's out there, what's available to them. And let people make up their own minds as to whether it makes sense or not. Now, one last thing I want to say, because I do think sometimes people come up to me and they say, well, if this is such a good deal, how come the polls show that it's not popular? Well, one of the things you and I both know is that when you come to healthcare, there's no more personal and intimate decision for people. I mean, this is something that people really care about. And frankly, the devil you know is always better than the devil you don't know. And that's what Harry and Louise was all about back in the 90s, right? It was scaring people with the prospect of change. And so part of our goal here is just to make sure people have good information. And there has been billions of dollars spent making people scared and worried about this stuff. And rather than trying to disabuse people of every single bit of misinformation that's been out there, what we're saying is just look for yourself. Take a look at it and you will discover that this is a good deal for you. W.J. Clinton, well, first of all, I completely agree with that. I think we've got to just drive people to the websites. The states that are participating the Supreme Court decision that upheld. The healthcare law said that states didn't have to set up these marketplaces if they didn't want to. But if they didn't, the federal government would set it up. They also said that states didn't have to expand Medicaid coverage to help people. Whose incomes are up to 138% of the federal poverty level by health insurance. There are some states, believe it or not, that want the marketplace but don't want the Medicaid. And that's going to lead to a cruel result, and there's nothing the president can do, and it's not his fault. That's what the Supreme Court said. So we can have this bizarre situation where let's say, a business with 60 employees can, or an individual going into the individual market. Will get the benefit of tax credits for everybody with incomes of 138% of the federal poverty level or above. But they won't get it for people who are between 100 and 138%. So lower income people who desperately need the health insurance. We would have the cruelest of all situations in those states. And there's nothing the president can do about it because of the Supreme Court decision. So we have to persuade the states to come on. But more and more states with Republican governors, Republican legislatures are doing it. Tell them about Arkansas, because we're doing well down there. President Obama, a little hometown bias, there's nothing wrong with that. But as you indicated, what we've seen is that when Republican governors take a look at the deal they're getting where in addition to these exchanges, we're also providing a much more significant match. Much more federal money to provide health insurance from the state's perspective, they're not paying. The federal government is picking up the tab, and this is helping them because people are no longer going to the emergency room, and they now have good health care. They're now getting preventive care. You're seeing some Republican governors step up and saying, I may not like Obamacare. But I'm going to go ahead and make sure that my people are benefiting from this plan. So that's one good thing that's happening. The second thing that's happening is there are a couple of states. Arkansas is a good example. Kentucky is another good example. Idaho, interesting example. These are states where I just got beat. I mean, I do not have a big constituency in these states. So I had a conference, a video conference with all the state directors of all the marketplaces. And I'm talking to the director in Kentucky and Idaho. And in Kentucky, it's called like, Kentucky Connect. And in Idaho, it's called the Idaho Healthcare Exchange. And there's a story that came out of Kentucky where some folks were signing people up at a county fair somewhere. Some guy goes up and he starts looking at the rates and decides he's going to sign up. And he turns to his friend and said, "This is a great deal. This is a lot better than Obamacare." And Arkansas just came out with its rates, and as has been true in virtually every single state. Not only are premiums lower than they were, they're a lot lower than even the most optimistic predictions were about how low they would be. And once these marketplaces are up and running, it turns out that what has traditionally been a pretty conservative principle, which is competition and choice work, well, in the insurance market, competition and choice work. And what we're seeing is that people are going to be able to get the kind of health care that they have never been able to get before. States are going to benefit from it because they're going to save money. And one thing that all of you, there are probably very few people in this room who don't have health insurance. Although if you don't, you should sign up starting on October 1st. One of the things that many people don't realize is that the subsidy that all of you provide for the uninsured is about $1,000 per family. You pay $1,000. Everybody here who has got health insurance pays about $1,000 more. For your family's insurance than you otherwise would have, because hospitals are mandated. They are required to provide service to anybody who shows up. And so what happens is when you've got 15% of the population without health insurance, they end up showing up at the emergency room typically at a point when they're much sicker than if they had been getting regular checkups and preventive care. So you pay for the most expensive care there is, because hospitals have got to recoup that money somewhere. And the way they do it is to charge higher prices. And people who have health insurance end up picking it up. So part of what will help reduce the increase in healthcare. Costs is making sure that that hidden subsidy no longer exists. W.J. Clinton, let's talk a little bit about business, because we're out of time, but I think it's really important. As you pointed out, most people who have insurance work for a living. Or somebody in their family does, and they get their insurance through their workplace. The law says that all employers have to participate if they have 50 employees or more. Many employers with fewer than 50 employees already voluntarily provide some health insurance. Both the companies with 50 or more and the companies with fewer than 50 are somewhat concerned. And the employees that have to be insured are those who work 30 hours a week or more. So there were many people who speculated that when this law came into place that it would add to the cost and there would be a lot more part-time workers instead of full-time workers. I'll save the president the time in the interview on this so far, that's not true. The overwhelming number of people who have been hired coming out of this recession have been they have been hired at lower wages, but they have been full-time employees. There has not been an increase in the percentage of our employment in part-time work. There has been an increase in relatively lower wage new jobs. But that means they need health insurance even more. So explain very briefly to them how this is going to work. How private employers are helped to buy their insurance and the requirements.